Welcome to the Veteran Entrepreneur Masterclass with Brett Henderson, founder of Strategic Wealth Endeavor. We've created a community of veteran entrepreneurs just like you who are ready to help you succeed. Our podcast provides expert advice and resources so you can overcome any obstacle in your way. With the help of Brett and veteran guest experts, you can build a battle-ready business mindset to take your company to the next level. Thank you for listening to the Veteran Entrepreneur Masterclass. Now, on to the show.
Brett Henderson has a focus, and it is you. In this show, Brett explains how he gets to know you and the relationship he strives to develop, with your help, of course. I'm Patrice Sikora, and this is the Veteran Entrepreneur Masterclass. Brett, what do you do first when someone reaches out about your financial services firm?
Morning, Patrice. So every situation is different and unique, but obviously the first thing is to really understand the situation, understand who they are, where they came from, but more importantly, why are they reaching out? No one generally just reaches out because they're bored. Someone has an issue, they have a problem, they have a challenge, something they're trying to accomplish or a problem they're trying to solve. And that's when they reach out. So the first time we actually get together, it's really, we schedule only half an hour, but it ends up being an hour, sometimes even more, just sitting there, just chatting, getting to know each other and their situation and why they reached out. And depending, normally if it's a couple, I liked the first meeting, generally one of the two spouses reaching out. And then the second meeting is definitely to have both spouses together, because they function as a team, and one spouse can see the world one way, one can see the other way. And so it makes sense to have everybody together. So that's what we like to do, is really take our time, understand where someone is, why they're reaching out, who they are. But I guess something I think is different in our process than most of our competition or other advisors out there is that it's not just trying to figure out where they are, a goal, and go. It's also understanding their values. What's important to them spiritually, personally, mentally. And once we understand who they are and their values, our advice can incorporate their own values. And we have a simple way to help learn their values, or actually have someone even have the realization of what their values are. One of our designations, or one of my designations, is the BFA, Behavioral Financial Advisor. And with that came some training or a program where we actually order value cards. And we send a client or a prospect a deck of cards, and it has over 50 different values, and you can go through it. And we ask them to figure out, okay, take the decks, cut it in half. What's important to you? And then we split it down again and again and again. So we get the top 5, and it takes a long time. And especially when you have the spouse do it too, sometimes you have overlapping values, but a lot of times it's different. You have yin and yang, which makes conversations about money very, very tedious and can be challenging at times. But once the couples even see their values, like, this is why you choose this, like family is obviously a big one. And so an example, if someone asks for or has a financial choice ahead of them, we'll go through their values and remind them, okay, if family is important to you and one of your choices is buying a vacation home, you could spend more time with your family versus another type of intangible investment. We would maybe discuss that as a possible option.
That sounds all great, Brett. I mean, I love the idea of the cards and getting to know somebody. Is it hard to get them to understand that they can trust you?
Well, with any relationship, trust takes time, and everyone has their own process for building trust. Some clients come in and trust is already given, especially if they're a referral, and then it's really up to you to lose it, right? But as long as you act with integrity and every choice and every recommendation, every decision you make is in their best interest, that is easily maintained. And after doing this for almost 20 years and never having a client complaint, and knock on wood, like to keep it that way, I think we do a pretty good job of that.
All right. How do you break the ice with a new client?
Just like any conversation, get to know them a little bit, see what we have in common, where they grew up, where they came from, if they have kids, are their kids going to school, college, what are they doing in the summer, right now, any vacations planned, and just get to know them. You start their business. How do you get into business? How did you make that decision? What is your biggest challenge? And just really get to know them and who they are inside and outside of their office.
All right. Now tell me about the community that you want to grow.
Sure. I think this is the epiphany we really had about 2-3 months ago. And I've kind of been battling with this internally for several years, just really who do we serve? And because we were referred so many clients professionally, especially in the 401k space in various industries, we had quote, unquote, many different niches. And the challenge was, okay, we have 5-6 clients in medical. Are we a medical niche? Or I have accounting firms, I have law firms, I have manufacturing. So all these different areas of where's your niche? Where do you specialize? At the end of the day, it was people that want to do well. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. People want to make money. People want to have a great lifestyle. People don't want to run out of money. And so that really didn't apply. But it wasn't until you started chatting with a couple of veterans and peers and alumni that were all ROTC with me at Tulane and were veterans, where it started clicking that I really enjoyed working more with these veterans than, not I wouldn't say I don't enjoy working with other people, but just a natural bond, a certain connection you have right off the bat. Doesn't matter what branch you're in, whether you're enlisted or an officer, it doesn't matter. It's just that kind of connection. And then I realized when I attend different events, especially in my industry, and there are any veterans here, I am normally the only one in the room.
Really?
Yes, it's kind of interesting. I remember we had a guest speaker, and there's a lot of the Navy SEALs on the guest speaker tour that financial service firms hire and get these guys to go out. And they'll go in the room. I remember one huge conference in Vegas, several hundred advisors in the room. Like, any veterans here? And I was the only Marine to bark that I was there. And he's okay, don't say anything. I'm going to talk about some things. Okay. So there's not a lot of service that I have found. I've heard there's a lot of ones out there, but I don't come across a lot of my peers in that space. And what I realized when I went from being a W-2 employee with a large firm, I spent 5 years with Merrill Lynch and almost 10 with UBS before going on my own. There's not a lot of guidance for anyone to start a business in the military community. There is the SBA, and they do a little bit of training, but I was on my own trying to figure all this stuff out. And I was reaching out to my peers that had also started businesses and asking for advice. And what about this? What about that? And how do you do this? And how do you handle that? And when an employee does this, what do you do? And there wasn't a lot of support. There's no place that a veteran entrepreneur can go and have a community. So as I started chatting with more of my military veteran entrepreneur clients that we now have several of, we realized, we all kind of come from the same place. We figured it out. We stumbled through. We got punched in the face, kicked in the face, and we just kept plodding through and made it work. So if we can bring people together that have these common experiences, that have the drive, have the inertia, have the fortitude to start a business and make it through, if we can be here to help each other, that's really what this is about, is creating a safe place where people can come with questions, comments, concerns, and expertise, and share the expertise amongst our own veteran peers. And the more, I truly believe knowledge is power. As I don't know if it's shared, we can talk. I passed my 7th designation last week, which is good. So I've had some more.
Congratulations. All right.
Thank you. We get a whole new podcast about what that is and what it does. But this is what we're trying to, what we are creating is an environment, is a place for the veteran entrepreneur to be able to be safe and ask questions, not feel stupid, and have a peer group of other professionals to help out, provide that knowledge, provide that guidance. That safe community is what we're striving to create. And we're striving, we are creating it. It is here.
All right, I got a question for you here. Do you have many female vets who have been in contact?
Not yet. I have just launched actually it isn't even out yet. The rebrand is just coming out. And so I've been bouncing it off of a few peers and friends. And last week ran into a woman who has over 20 plus years in the Army National Guard. She kind of does like human resources for the National Guard, and shared our mantra and what we're doing and why we're doing it. She's like, oh, I like that. So it's been positively received. Also, we have a Marine veteran networking group. We had a call this morning. We have a female Marine there, and she loves the idea and where we're going with it. So she's not a client, but the female and women veterans that we've chatted with about the idea, about the concept, have been very positive.
You mentioned the mantra, the tagline. Tell me about that. What is it, and how'd you get that?
Sure thing. So our mantra is trade in your old iron sights and give your wealth a red dot. And it really came up. Actually, Giselle is here. She's quiet, and I don't know if she knows that she's going to be on right now, but I'll actually let Giselle chime in and let her tell the story. So Giselle's our admin. She does everything. She's team mom and is amazing, super smart, sharp, and handles all our account opening. But we were on vacation 2 summers ago, and we ran into a group of individuals when we were out in Death Valley, and we ran in 2 days in a row, just randomly 40 miles apart. And Giselle, I'll let you, not to put you on the spot, but if you don't mind jumping in and kind of sharing what happened and what they let you do, I think it'll explain our mantra very, very nicely.
Giselle?
Yes. So we were out in the desert, ran into some Navy SEALs. They had a bunch of guns with them and shooting targets. So the second night that we ran into them, they invited us over to go shoot some targets. And I think one of the weapons I shot was an AR-15. And yes, on it, they had a red dot. So Brett, when he was back in the Marines, he told me he shot with iron sights and you had to manually line it up. And for the new AR-15s that are coming up, they have the red dot. So it's easy. You line up your shot on your target and then you just shoot. So that's where the red dot came in. So we're upgrading your wealth with the red dot. So that's what the tagline that Brett came up with.
Awesome. Thanks, Giselle, so much. So that's completely true. I hadn't shot a rifle since qualification when I was in the Marine Corps 2002. And it was, I think, 2020 when this happened. So almost 20 years later. And I qualified with iron sights. And that's what you did. And I used that red dot. It's like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. This is almost like cheating. And actually, one of my clients, he runs a company that does firearms training, whatnot, and security. And I told him that story. It's like, yeah, first time you use a red dot, it's like cheating. And it really is. It's an amazing difference. And so I looked at what we're doing for our clients, and that's really where the mantra came from. It's a trade in your old iron sights and give your wealth a red dot. You're going from old and antiquated to something that's very modern. So I thought it was very fitting, especially with our target audience.
And how are your the prospective clients and clients that you've spoken with? How are they taking to this?
They love it. They love it. They think it's edgy and it's different and it's unique, and it's been very well received. Obviously, like, oh, that's too masculine. A couple say that, but that's who I am. And this is exactly who we are and who we work with. And if it bothers someone, that's okay. You don't have to work with us, but this is who we are. And this is what we're doing. And I think it clearly articulates where you're going to be in the future, hopefully, if you engage us.
And speaking of that, what are your next steps then? You get them onboarded, you share all this information, you build a rapport with them. Then where do you take them?
Sure. So I'm going to turn over to Giselle again, because she really does all of this. But I'll say, when we were in the military, when I was in the Marine Corps, everything you did, use a checklist or SOP, standard operating procedure. And that is your blueprint. It's your Bible for everything you do. And we used to say in the Marine Corps, we make it Marine proof, like anyone can do it. And if a Lance Corporal, they call her a Lance Coconut, if they can do it, like anyone can do it. So we've built these processes, these procedures where you literally just follow a checklist. And we use, instead of Excel, a website called, or a technology package called Monday.com. And it's pretty much like Excel on steroids. It's 100 times more comprehensive than Excel. And you can put your procedures in there, just step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And so actually I'm stealing Giselle's thunder. So I'll be quiet right now, Giselle, because she does all the heavy lifting and does this work. We built it together and she's the one that executes it though. So Giselle, you want to chat about relationships once they say yes?
Of course. So after we have the prospect call with Brett and they've agreed to sign on as a client, I set up an intro call with them just to set expectations, what next steps are. So that's a quick 15-30-minute phone call. I walk them through, here's the paperwork we're going to be filling out, confirm all the accounts that they want opened. I sit with them on the phone. We go through the paperwork, because paperwork and forms can be a little bit confusing. So I'm there with them on the phone, talking them through what to fill out, where to sign. And then using that information, I go through all the account opening forms depending on where we're opening it. So we use Schwab and Pershing for our wealth management clients. I go through that paperwork, help them pre-fill all of that, send it over to the client, and they go ahead and review it, sign it, and I update them throughout the whole process. So I'm updating them once I send it to the or not the record keeper, but the platform that we're using, the custodian. And from that, the account's open, and I'm on the back end again, working with our back office to get this account to completion. So I'm there with them every step. They go to me, I'm the point of contact. So if they need anything from Brett, I'm connecting them with Brett or with the custodian or with our back office, depending on who needs to connect with who.
And I can only imagine you get sterling reviews.
Everyone loves Giselle. No one wants to talk to me. They always want to talk to her, which is fine. She does a great job.
All right. So actually, that's a good question, though. Is Giselle, you say Giselle is the point of contact?
But depending, anything administrative wise, yes, because she does everything, and she makes sure the technology is connected, that everything's reporting properly, the accounts are funded properly, the investments, once we make that decision, and they're invested, they're executed, she follows up to make sure their investments are in the account. Like, she does everything there. So anything administrative is Giselle. Everything that is, I guess, guidance and or investment direction or net worth, where am I today? Where are we going? So that's all me. So I do all the investment selection. I do the risk management. I do the initial goal setting, and then Giselle does the implementation. We can talk about that too. But before we can recommend anything on an investment platform or investment direction, you have to know someone's risk tolerance too. So we use technology for that called Riskalyze, and we can maybe talk more about that. But we make sure we know someone, what they're comfortable with, how much risk they're willing to take, how much they're willing to lose is really the big thing. Because everyone's happy to make money. Everyone thinks investing, you're going to make tons of money, but people forget the markets go both ways. They go up, they go down. And historically, the markets are down 25% of the time. People forget that the last decade, it's been up almost every year, except for 18 and now this year. So understanding how much someone is willing to lose is really important before you make any investment recommendations.
Well, that plus your behavioral cards sounds to me like that's a great system to get people basically onboarded properly.
I'd rather ask 50 questions and cut once. They say measure 3 times. I'd rather ask 50 times and cut once and make sure we do it right and confirm before we do anything. It's just, then you don't have to fix things, right? If you take the time to really understand where someone is and where they want to go and who they are before you recommend anything, it just makes it that much easier down the road.
All right. We've really pretty much wrapped up what we were going to talk about this time, but give me a tease for the next episode that we're going to record.
Sure thing. So actually, I'm excited to have my first, Giselle's a guest, but she's also part of the team. So she's awesome. She's welcome anytime. So appreciate her being here. But tomorrow is our first guest, and his name's Kenny Bass of the Battle Buddy Foundation. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but he has a phenomenal organization that helps veterans with PSD who need a service dog find a service dog. So he trains them, finds the fits. Speaking of values and personalities, the dog has to bond and be a good fit with the veteran. So there's a lot that goes into that. It takes 2 years to train a dog, but Kenny will talk all about that. Kenny I found him through my quest to find an organization to help me heal from the loss of one of my best friends. That was Lieutenant Colonel Adam Collier, 4th Recon. He was battalion commander. We lost him to suicide on March 10th of 2018. And trying to find an organization where I can help other veterans with PTSD not become a statistic and not take their own lives and not commit suicide is a way for me to heal and a way for me to give back after losing my best friend. So Kenny Bass has a phenomenal organization. He'll talk more. He's actually a better speaker than I am, which wasn't saying much, but he's a really good speaker, and he'll share a lot with us tomorrow. I'm
really looking forward to that interview. Well, Brett, how can listeners reach you?
Same thing. So our website, www.swe90.com, and I'm Brett at swe90.com. And our phone number is 310-491-7045. Again, 310-491-7045.
All right, listeners, follow this podcast to make sure you know when a new episode is ready. Of course, share with friends and colleagues. They'll definitely benefit. I'm Patrice Sikora, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for listening to the Veteran Entrepreneur Masterclass podcast. Don't forget to click the follow button to become notified when new episodes become available. Securities offered through IFP Securities LLC, DBA Independent Financial Partners, IFP, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through IFP Investors LLC, DBA Independent Financial Partners, IFP, a registered investment advisor. IFP and Strategic Wealth Endeavor INC are not affiliated. The views expressed are that of the host and are for informational purposes only, and in no event should be construed as an offer to buy or sell securities. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs of individual investors. Neither IFP Investors LLC, IFP Securities LLC, DBA Independent Financial Partners, IFP, nor their affiliates offer tax or legal advice. Interested parties are strongly encouraged to seek advice from qualified tax and or legal experts regarding the best options for your particular circumstances. The information given herein is taken from sources that IFP Advisors LLC, DBA Independent Financial Partners.